up here and we'll get going. Once it starts up. Welcome to Bon Jovi Discussions. We are back after the holidays. I had some people asking about, when I was going to do the next episode. And, during the holidays, I kind of take a few weeks off because it's just so chaotic here. But we're back with a new episode. And today I have my buddy PJ, who is in Florida right now. And we are going to talk about this bad boy right here, Crossroads. This was their digital, see, vinyl, digital, and then we got media.
I would tell you, I have probably at least 4 of these albums, but they're all in like my Camaro and stuff from when I was like 16. Still have it, still in my CD binder, but it's all the way in Maryland, and I was like, man, it's way better.
Well, before we dig into the album here, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Good. All right, so I guess we'll dig into this a little bit. Let's do some overview first. So this was the band's first compilation, after their 10-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
It was released on October 11th, 1994, and it had pretty much 11 tracks on it. In the international editions, it had 12, but then it had 3 new ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of, so let's dig into the photography. Or how about we discuss how we got into this album? I know this album.
I know you got
for you, so I'll let you go first.
Man, okay. Let's start with me. Talk about tickled. My earliest memory of this album would be when I was in, I want to say, the 2nd grade, maybe first. I'm young, and we had me at my birthday party. I like to know. The birthday's on October 15th, and we had a birthday party, and my mom and my aunt would play this album on repeat and we were all bobbing for apples, and you got Keep the Faith and everything playing in the background nonstop in this VHS tape. And when I think of this album, I think of this is probably where it all started. Because man, you just had, think about it, when you finally listen to rock music, and when you get to that age, you just put CD in and you're good. You're good for a long time. And
so did you hear about Bon Jovi before that?
Yeah. I grew up, obviously listening to them, but if you're asking for overall a memory, A, of this album, and B, maybe my Bon Jovi fandom itself, where I could put my first maybe song that I've listened to of Bon Jovi and tie it to something, and it goes.
Yeah.
And it's still great. I still listen to it to this day.
It's a great compilation. And you were saying before we started our recording here, this is one of the biggest selling compilation albums of all time. It's it used to be hard for bands to sell a compilation album. And Bon Jovi, I don't know the numbers because I don't pay attention to those kind of figures, but this is one of the best-selling compilations of all time. I think it's actually in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Of all time.
Crunching some numbers to make sure I was right, and I should know them, but 21.5 million is a number that pops in my head for popping up for an album. And that, I also read too that I should have some notes, but they sold 750,000 albums a couple years ago, 2 years ago. It hit.
Really?
Quintuple platinums. Yeah, the album had almost every little award you could get for it. And I'm wondering, man, did the band expect that for this many years after that? They released the second greatest hits album, and it's great. There's some great songs on it, but this was it, man. This was the this is the big heavy hitters.
Yeah, exactly. And they put all of their hits on there.
Well, it's a good thing all their hits have remained hits all these times. It wouldn't be.
So I'll tell you my story about how I discovered this one. So I was 8 years old, this tall, just kidding, this tall. And I discovered Crush. Crush was the very first album that I discovered in 2000. So 8 years old, 2000. It's My Life. Crush came out. So I love that album so much. And so the end of summer came and I played Crush every single day. My parents were like, just find a different album that you. And so my dad took me to the store and he said, so that this is before, obviously you and I both know this is before digital days. So you couldn't get music online and you had dial up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had a choice between cassette
Oh man, nice.
or CD. So my dad said, because I told my dad I want to get all the albums. I just want to get everything and just listen to it. He goes, no, we'll get you. You either can get one CD or you can get two cassettes. So I thought, okay, well I'm gonna get two cassettes. So I got Crossroads and I got Blaze of Glory. Well, just like I did with Crush all summer long, I outplayed the tape and it got eaten up.
Yeah. Oh man.
And so those are the last. I have all their cassettes as just as a collector's item now, but so I chose two cassettes over a CD. You know, and back then CDs were a big thing, so to choose a cassette was
yeah, they were way more.
But but that's how it kind of got me into knowing what their hits were, because all I knew at that point was Crush. And so I started, and then so what I would do when I was still trying to learn all their albums, what was out at the time as being 8 years old. And so I'd be like, okay, Living on a Prayer, Wanted, Bad Name, that's on Slippery. So I got the Slippery album. And then so I'd go down the list and say, okay, I got this album, Keep the Faith. Okay, that's on Keep the Faith. I got that album, and so forth. But
you were organized.
What's that?
You were organized.
I
had a mission.
As an 8-year-old kid, 8-year-old kids, they want a BB gun or they want the next action figure or be in a sport and all this. My goal as an 8-year-old kid was to have every single Bon Jovi album that there was to get.
Nice.
So, but let's get back into the album a little bit. One of the greatest things I love about this album, and it's probably my favorite era of the band as far as style and photography. I mean, I just love the photography in this album.
Yeah, Jerry, the photography album. I don't know if you can tie it in though, but I know you've been to the cover, correct? You've been there.
That's what I was gonna say. Was a lot of the photography was photographed in Wall Township, New Jersey. Mark Weiss, I believe, did a few of the shots, and then another photographer. I can't think of his name at the moment. And then a lot of it was as what's known famously in the fandom, the Roadside Diner. And yes, I have been there because I've been to Jersey quite a few times because of the band and seeing them and stuff. And so the last time I was there was 2013 when I was seeing them at MetLife, and that's where you and I first met, was MetLife.
Yeah,
or it might have been the Circle Tour. I can't remember, but anyway, so this Roadside Diner, it's so tiny. And it was so cool to because I sat in right where Richie was sitting and stuff. Yeah. And it looks so big on the cover, but it's actually it's such a small room. What's that?
I bet you bump when you stand up.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
And they actually had at the checkout counter, they had a signed band photo from the 80s, like 86. And it was dedicated to the diner and stuff, and
that's really cool.
It was pretty cool. But yeah, so it was kind of cool to see it firsthand, where it was like, like I said, it looks huge on the album cover, but it's actually pretty, because this is where you walk in right here behind this or in front of this seat. That's the walk-in area. If you turn left, there's some more seats, or you turn right and there's two tables here, and then this is a counter.
Yeah, where
Alec is sitting, and then so John is sitting at a bar stool too, like right at the entrance at the counter, and right where John was at, that's where the signed photo was and stuff.
Oh, that's really neat.
Here's some here's some color.
I were there, and I was like, you probably got real good stuff with that and the photography here.
What's that?
I have never been there personally, but I knew that you did, so I was like, you could tie that in with the album. Oh,
yeah, it was pretty cool. A couple more some fun facts about this album before we get into the 3 new tracks. Um, when they were first going to release this, they were thinking about re-recording Runaway because the band did not record Runaway at the beginning. And so they wanted to do a band recording of Runaway. And for some reason, it got scrapped and they decided to do a Prayer 94, an acoustic version of the Prayer, which we'll talk about that here shortly. So I thought that was pretty cool. On the international editions, they put Never Say Goodbye on it, on the comp, which I think they should have just done on every version to begin with.
All on one album and just have it that.
What's that? I know. I
put it all out. Like, what? I don't get it. I'm gonna listen to.
And then another thing, when I was a kid and I would play the tape over and over, was the VHS, the Crossroads.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so it had like all their music. You know what's funny too, and this, I have like an OCD thing. I'm very organized.
Yeah.
I remember watching this and listening to this, and not all the songs on here were on here. Like Miracle. I think Miracle's on here. Yeah, Miracle's on here. Dry County, Living in Sin, I believe. Those are not on here. And I guess those weren't really major hits either, but it drove me nuts that it wasn't on. Because like I said, I was still just discovering the band at that time. In 2000, and so it got me on my nerves.
I would listen to this album when I was my first like real big job. Well, I guess I've always had one, but like at 16, I was doing masonry, and that's when first iPods came out. So like 2006-ish, let's put it around there. And my boss had one, and he was all excited that he could put 1,000 songs on that iPod.
I remember those days, yeah.
And he had like a whole Meatloaf album, just stuff, putting tons of stuff. Nobody, and he wanted anything on there, and I brought him the Crossroad CD, and he would play all his music all day, Elvis, everything you name it. Not bad, not what I was into at the time. I'd listen to it now, sure, but and at the end of the day, give me the workload. I would listen to at least this album at least twice. At the end of the day, every day for like 5 years.
Yeah. I remember those little iPod things, and they had those squares, and and you were considered cool in school, because when those came out, I was
seventh grade. White when they first came out. They were white with just a plain green.
Okay.
They were never always color.
Yeah, I remember the ones that you couldn't tell what song you were on. Like I remember I had a girlfriend, and I was in 7th grade, and I would steal her iPod for my study hall, and but I remember you couldn't tell what song you were going to next, and there was no screen, so all you did was play next, and so you were like crossing your fingers. It was a good song. So it's amazing what technology, how far technology has come now.
Great.
Next, one last thing I want to talk about on this overview is the 2005 release of Crossroad.
Mm-hmm.
This included the album, and it included the Never Say Goodbye on the album, and then it included a second disc of B-sides and rarities. And then it also included a DVD of Live in London '95, which kind of makes me wonder why they did that. Why, like a different, Live in London was to support These Days, which was an album after Crossroads. Mm-hmm. I thought they should have put on Crossroads on DVD, like all the videos. Mm-hmm. Like this, the videos. Mm-hmm. I wish they would have done. I mean, it's still cool that it's on there, but like, I don't know. It kind of like I said, my OCD, like this.
I like this. Was 94. Just the band being like, "Hey, here's something really good that we did, and it's just a little present for you." Yeah, I got them. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Live in London is cool too. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but it was already out on DVD, and Crossroad was never on DVD.
What
You
you're
know?
saying is they should have gave you something that you don't already have.
I know. It's
Yeah.
like when they re-released New Jersey in 2014. They put New Jersey the videos in access all areas, and I was
Mhm.
happy. Because
Yeah.
these days I swear I go through so many VHS players anymore because they don't they're just old and they don't last. But
No, aren't VHS tapes supposed to like not work in the near future?
they don't trust me. I haven't played any of my Bon Jovi VHS tapes in forever
Yeah,
because I'm worried because these I've had these since I was a little kid,
I
and
feel you.
I will be heartbroken if I put it in and it eats my tape.
Oh
Because
man,
you
that's
can imagine
stolen.
8-year-old Jerry getting this, having
Yeah,
this eaten up. I was
yeah.
heartbroken, and I cried to my dad, and
I'll put my
he,
stuff away, and it's a shame because I won't use it, but I'll buy something like it so I can. So,
exactly. I have so many. I have like 5 copies of Crossroads and
yeah,
just
yeah.
stuff. Like one's for touching, and look, one's to stay sealed, one's signed, one's this, one's that, and
Hmm.
my wife is like, "Why do you need so many copies?" I'm like, "You just don't get it. You don't get it."
Well, well,
All right.
she's keeping you like that, man. They're tough
Yeah.
to.
So obviously we won't go track by track because I've done a lot of these tracks on their respective albums, like like Prayer on Slippery and stuff. So we won't do that, but we are going to talk about the 3 new tracks on this album. So we'll start off with Someday I'll Be Saturday Night. It was released as a second single on February 13th, 1995,
5?
I believe. Yeah, yeah, it was because Always was October, I believe.
Mm.
So yeah, and it was written by John Ritchie, Desmond Child. There's interviews where John had said he kind of wished he would have left this, he would have put this on These Days, because Always was such a monster hit that it would have pretty much supported Crossroads on its own. And he thinks Saturday Night, which I think would have been I do agree with him. I think it would have been a bigger hit. Not that it wasn't, it was, but I think it would have been bigger if we would have put it on These Days, and it would have fit very well on These Days.
Isn't it crazy that we have to like? I'll try and tell my girlfriend this. I'm like, Bon Jovi's that big. We're trying to not make "I'll Be Saturday Night" as if it's not. If it wasn't a big hit, it could have been bigger. Like that, and Always, and those are
Yeah,
huge songs. Like I try to tell people, like, and those are just songs that they were just like, yeah, we'll just put, yeah, I'll put it on there and just crush it. You don't
yeah,
see that ever.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
Somebody
And,
releases and they're like, yeah, we'll just give you a new song, and that song is just a hit forever. Like it just doesn't happen.
because shortly after Saturday Night, they released their first single for These Days, which I think was This Ain't a Love Song or something for the Pain, one of those two. So, and then they released These Days in June. So this was pretty close to it. But anyway, I really love this song. I think the whole meaning behind this song is just trying to find that optimism, despite all the hard times and struggles that you're going through, and that it's pretty much that light at the end of the tunnel that you're going through so much, but you see that light and you're determined to get through whatever you're going through, and you
I
know,
like starts off with all the shittiness in a way, just talking about bad people, being abused, living in your car, etc. And they just
yeah.
got hope for everything else, and it just builds up love songs like apparently everybody else does.
And that's the perfect word. But I think if you had to pick one word to define this song, it'd be hope. It's all about hope, and looking forward to the better. I really like the introduction to the new characters too, like Jim. Hey, my name is Jim. What did I go wrong? He can't find employment. He's sleeping in his car. And
Hmm.
then you get a Billie Jean, who is a prostitute. Her father sexually abused her, and she's pretty much making a living off in the street
Yeah,
life because that's all she can do and all she knows. She'd
yeah.
rather do that than be at home with her abusive dad, and but it's a really good song.
It's
Uh,
crazy. You're saying all that stuff, and I'm like reading the lyrics in my head.
yeah, hey, my name is Jim, but
It's impossible to not do. So.
yeah, and the music video was so good too because it really just fit the theme. I think it was filmed in New Mexico, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken, or LA. One of those two, I believe, it was filmed.
I want to say New Mexico too. They're filming a lot down in those
Yeah,
signs.
yeah.
That's
So,
a
but
good too.
um, what my favorite line is, "I'm gonna pick up the pieces and what's left of my pride." What's your favorite line of it?
Jerry, I had this out earlier. I got the. I
You
got the.
should know it like that.
I
Like
got
that.
the. No, I'm gonna not put a favorite lyric in there right now because I can't get the chorus out of, or we were just singing out of my head.
That's all right.
I had it wrote down. Trust me, if John Bon Jovi watches, I know I have a favorite lyric. Promise.
What did you think of the demo that was on the box set, the 2004 box set?
The demo,
Mm-hmm.
not even gotten around to that part of it. Cross, not on there. The Lucky demo?
No, the Someday I'll Be Saturday Night demo that's on the box set.
Oh, sorry. Threw me off, man. Long day there. How it's just a little different. I know exactly. I have the box set. Yeah. I'm like, what
Yeah.
am I? I'm gonna look like
I love
watch this.
I love the lyric changes, and I also love the beginning too, how it starts like, "Hey, I'm going drinking."
Yeah, the pitch of it changes a little bit too.
Yeah. What were you saying?
Oh, I was gonna say I'm gonna look dumb if people watch this. They're gonna be like, he doesn't know the Saturday night demo. Oh my god.
It's just a fun chat. You're fine.
Yeah, no.
But
But
I love the demo, and that's one of the great things I love about demos versus the final song. You kind of see where that song grew and what changed and stuff like
maybe
that. Now live, this is one of those songs.
maybe it showed a little bit too. Maybe that's what they were shooting for before the final piece came out. Like,
Yeah,
is that what it was supposed to sound like?
yeah,
We don't.
yeah.
These are
Usually a lot of demos, or songs that that they write and then they record to kind of get a sound of how everything sounds. And if they like how that demo sounds, then they keep recording until they perfect it.
mm,
So, and then one last thing about this song too is I love it live. It's one of those songs that I really look forward to seeing live, especially on the last tour, on the "This House Is Not for Sale" tour. At the end, they would do a new outro, and then Shanks, JBJ, and Phil, they'd be waving their guitars back and forth, and and John just has a lot of fun. You can tell there's some songs that John will play live, and you kind of just tell that he's just playing it just to get it over with because he doesn't want to perform it, which is
mm.
fine. And
They,
then but every time Saturday Night is on that set list, you can just tell he loves singing it.
yeah.
He gets so into it, like when they do the final bridge before the final chorus, when the music settles down and it's just him, he's like closing his eyes and he starts to sing. Um, I really like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you can
I
tell he's going with that song.
Yeah. Especially when if it's just like it's quiet, and then John will just start strumming his guitar to that song, and then he'll just start singing. Everyone starts singing with him, and it's just a joy time in the arena.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go to the next one. And the next one's a huge hit. Always. This was the first. This is the first single released on Crossroads on September 20th, 1994. Written by JBJ. This was Alex's final single with the band too. Um, so this song was originally, there's a movie called Romeo Was Bleeding.
Yes.
And John was asked to write a movie for it, and which was Always, and he had written it, and then he had saw the movie and thought that it didn't really fit the movie, and he didn't like the movie, and so he pulled it, and he didn't think the song was that good, so he put it on the shelf. Well, one of the producers, or I think I know his name. John Dover or something like that. It's something along the lines of that. He was a producer, um, someone to do with the record company, John Calderdoff or whatever, convinced John to finish the song and put it on the album, Crossroads. And John didn't, just like Lunar Prayer, John didn't think it was going to be anything. He thought it was just a fluke, and it turned out to be the band's biggest selling single.
Yeah, yeah.
Ain't that the two biggest Bon Jovi songs out there were songs that John didn't even think were going to be anything.
I know, and it's like, and this is where I wish, like, and it's like I would hate to, like, I don't say I would hate, but like, if I ever got with John Bon Jovi and like I don't know, have a future, just be able to ask questions, I'd be afraid to ask him musical questions because obviously he gets asked them all the time. But like, man, how could you sit there and record that beautiful song,
I know.
the lyrics out, have a beautiful guitar solo, babies are made to that song, and you'd be like, yeah. Like, what? Yeah, no.
And it's funny with this song too. A lot of people think of this song as a love song. I'll love you forever, always, and they think it's a romantic ballad, but it's actually not. It's just like what the movie was about. It's about this stalker who's just obsessed with this woman, and so it's not really. Yeah, I think if you don't know that it's not about you, you would think that it is about because it's very romantic and stuff, but like once you know that it's about a stalker, you can tell, like in the second verse, like when he pulls you near, when he says the words you've been needing to hear, I wish I was, like you start to get that
it's almost like that it's just like, oh, once you get it, you're just like, oh man, it's about a guy who's just watching a girl all the time, kind of.
Yeah,
head over heels in love for her, but
yeah, and then in the music video, let's talk about the music video.
Because the music video is kind of like that as well.
Yeah, the Jack knows where the two hot girls, what were their names? Carla Kino or something. There's Carrie Russell, and then Jason Wiles, Jack Noseworthy as well. And so it starts out Jack Noseworthy and I think Carrie Russell, they're in a relationship. And make fun of me here, but when I was a kid watching my Crossroads tape, I thought Carrie Russell, the one that was the brunette in the video, I thought she was the blonde girl's mother. Now I know that they're both just roommates and they're pretty much the same age, but for some reason I thought they were mother and daughter. And so when the scene comes up where he's sleeping with the blonde girl and then the brunette runs off,
well, you must your thoughts when you're younger, like, what's happening?
Yeah. So I'm sure most of the people that are watching this video are diehard fans of the band, and they know what this music video is about. But just in case they don't, I have to give it justice. So the video is about Jack Noseworthy and Carrie Russell. They're in a relationship and they're head over heels with each other. They're madly in love. And Carrie Russell has a roommate, Carla. Well, Carrie's out one day and Jack cheats on Carrie with Carla. And then Carrie catches them. And then so Carrie runs off and she meets this other guy, Jason. And this is where the meaning of the song kind of takes the meaning of the song. And then Jack finds Carrie sleeping with Jason, and then he burns the place down and takes off. And you always wonder, did they get killed in the fire? Did they escape the fire? What?
You know, that's a good question. Now that you bring it up,
yeah, you just don't know. But I think that she's gone because when in this, beginning and the end, when Jack is kicking back in his bed, he sees her. So you don't know if it's a memory or if it's a ghost. He goes up to touch her and she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, I think it's one of the best music videos they've ever done.
Yeah.
And there's also an alternative video too of just the band, which is pretty much what they're filming. Obviously they filmed the actors, then they filmed the band. So the alternative video is just the whole footage of the band being recorded. And that was Alex's last music video.
Yeah.
Before his departure. Yeah, so for the longest time I thought Carla and Carrie, they were mother and daughter, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's sleeping with the entire family." Now I realize they were roommates.
The crazy is man, you're probably one of the only kids that happen to set up like that probably thinks you're probably one of the only people at that age that thought that. Like, just the way you have me set up, Like, no one else.
I'm probably the only person in the entire world that ever thought they were mother and daughter.
So, I'll never look at it differently.
Yeah. So now you're like, mother and daughter. So we got to talk about this live, because obviously this is like every fan, at least in the diehard fan base, it's every fan's dream to see this live. And it's like especially nowadays, John is feeling good with his vocals, and John is on top of his game that night when Always was played.
Always, Jerry?
Yeah, we're talking about Always.
Woo! Yeah, man, let me tell you how that pops up. The best Always song, now that everyone wants to see it, was when I was in Central Park, and it came out as an encore. Man, the wind was blowing. John came up out of the stage with like an unbuttoned blue shirt. His hair was blowing. It was something out of a movie.
Yeah, 2008. Yeah. And then Madison Square Garden nights too, which was Rapture Central Park. They did Always the first night, and I went to those shows. Incredible.
Yeah, I know that's something hard to hit, and I'm sure John probably is like.
Yeah, but you got So like I said, when you do get to see that song live, especially nowadays, John's feeling the top of his game. It's a good show.
Right.
So every time I hear the boom, boom,
oh yeah,
boom, the drums, you get these goosebumps. You're like there's no better feeling than that. And you mentioned Central Park being your favorite performance. Mine. And this is probably my favorite performance of all time with the band. If I could pick one performance to go back in time to and see, it would be the Always performance in London '95.
Yeah, that's great too.
I just think it's so incredible. I love the ad libs at the through the wind, through the snow, through the driving rain, I'd crawl the way home. Just I love that so much, and just the band's outro, and you could just feel that atmosphere of what people were feeling when they saw that.
When you watch those videos, no cell phones, no nothing.
Nope.
Everybody was just
give a little camcorder.
Yeah, like I'm going to the concert coming up here, and my girlfriend's like, "Am I gonna go?" Like I don't know. There's a lot going on there,
Yeah. But one other thing I might really note too on this song is this is probably one of the best songs John has ever done vocally. There's a lot of high note, which is hard for him to sing now, but one of his best vocally.
Oh yeah. When I tell people about, for instance, one of my friends was a big Guns N' Roses fan, and I knew a couple people that would swear like the voice because it was unique, and I'd be like, "You're crazy if you think anybody is a rock star, it's John Bon Jovi." Yeah. Put that and the hair. I'm looking at his pictures now, and I'm trying to think with Crossroads, like, how old would he have been in those pictures?
In '94, he would have been 32.
Whoo, man! Look at that hair, man! Making me look old.
Yeah, I'm gonna be 30 this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I just turned 33, and I was like, "Oh my goodness."
All right, so let's move on to the last new. It was, quotation new track is Prayer 94. So this was kind of inspired from what they did in the 80s with that acoustic set. It was John and Richie. I think it was MTV Unplugged.
Yeah.
And they wanted to recreate that. And so they did. And I really like that. I think that's Tico, obviously. And then it's a really good John and Richie duet. You know?
I wonder if Phil could bust that out.
What's that?
I wonder if him and Phil could play something.
You were breaking up again. I'm sorry.
I wonder if him and Phil could play something like this.
I know, but this was a true great John and Richie one, and I love playing this version on guitar.
I was just gonna ask you. I was like, do you know the intro for the chords on like John does in the new shows now? Like, yeah, you probably do. Yeah.
It's actually pretty, because most of the verses are E minor, and then the chorus. I know like "Living on a Prayer," it's D, or it's G C D, G cat C add 9, and then D.
Man, like it's go.
Let's see.
Here, pull it out. Yeah.
I'll just do the "Living on a Prayer" part.
Oh, Jerry, we should have ended it in this, and you could have just went black. That's it. You could have held that. We could have just been like, that's it. Click. There you go.
Let me pull up the chords real quick. I'm pretty sure I got that right. I haven't played it in a while, but it's pretty easy. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but let's see here. So begin with "Whoa," we're halfway there. Take my hand. Something like that.
Yeah. I was saying there's the intro too, where it's like, yeah. I'll get with you after at some point, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because a lot of it's pretty E minor, C, D, E minor.
When John plays "Living on a Prayer" at MetLife when we went in like 2013, at the end of the show, look how he starts that. You can read the chords as he's doing it. Pretty simple. But anyways, part of that, man.
Now that I've started to play guitar in the last year, I like to watch John playing guitar now. Because I like to see what kind of chords he does, and there's so many different ways to play songs. There's different ways to play "Living on a Prayer."
Yeah.
And so it's like you said, that intro when he does it live, he does it acoustic first, and so it's pretty much similar to how that was.
It's I liked watching him how like some people move their hands different, how they just switch to different chords. That's kind of what I pay attention to. Granted, I'm good like that guitar at all, but if I'm paying attention to that, which I do,
yeah,
I'm watching, because those are little things that I'm just like, you can learn.
Yeah. Yep.
The rock star, he obviously does it better. So,
he can do it with his eyes closed and looking the other way.
It's crazy how they can just tune guitar, whatever, and eyes.
So, but anyway, to conclude with the album, is there anything you want to say about it?
Ooh, man. Overall, I'll just give it like, if anybody wants to get an introductory to Bon Jovi, that to some people, for instance, back to like Prayer 94 though, a lot of people, for instance, my old boss, he didn't like that song. He did not like that song. A lot of people want rock and roll, just keep on going.
Yeah.
And drive muscle cars and blare it out of the speakers. But it's like, I thoroughly enjoy it. Calms it down, takes you to a nice little mellow level. And John puts the notes out there and everything good too. But off of that, with this album though, if anybody wants just this great CD or something just to give to somebody if they just kind of don't know Bon Jovi, you could be like, here,
take it,
get back to me, listen to it, get back to me in a month, and like they'll probably keep it in their car for forever
and listen to it forever.
Yeah. I have my one of my original CDs, my 30th anniversary edition Camaro sitting in my backyard.
You want to know something too, which is kind of interesting to see? On the CD, it says, trying to get that from it, 14 classic grooves.
Mm-hmm.
On the vinyl, it says the best of.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. I think that's on the cassette too. 14 classic grooves on the cassette. So that's pretty.
Who pulls it?
It's a fun fact.
Yeah, who pulls it? Who says that? Like, I'll just put that on there and hope that they'll be all right with it.
Yeah. Either way, it's still.
Those are little things that I'd be afraid that they'd be like, nah, you have to fix that. I know
for people that don't know Bon Jovi, though, so when they're seeing this in stores and they're seeing the best of, there's only 10 years worth of here, buddy.
Oh, yeah, that's
30 more years. It's not even on here.
That's just scraping the surface.
Exactly. Just getting your hands a little wet.
Yeah.
But it's a good starter.
Greatest hits single, if you think about it, man. There's so much more Bon Jovi.
Exactly. So anyway, stay on because I'm gonna talk to you for a few minutes after I end the recording here. But buddy, I want to thank you again for coming on. I knew you really wanted to do this album with me, so we tackled it.
Got it done.
One of my favorite compilations. So, all right, buddy. Thanks again.
Hey, thank you.